Hello and welcome to the Business of the Business podcast. I am your co-host, JP John Paz from the Two Man Power Trip, and of course, joining me is Mr. Trump Mania himself, the Wizard, Mr. Lavie Markland. Lavie, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. Can't be much better or have a bigger night, bigger podcast week. We're joined by a very special guest, a returning guest this week, who oversees one of the biggest, not only Lucha Libre promotions in the world, but one of the biggest pro wrestling promotions in the world. Of course, Lucha Libre AAA. Welcome, Dorian Roldan.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be again here with you guys.
Awesome to have you back on again to the show. There's always news popping off with AAA. So please tell us the latest on AAA, kind of a worldwide thing that's about to be announced with Vikingo against Kenny Omega, right? I mean, the AAA championship for Triple Mania is coming up.
Yes, we're really excited about it. You know, it's supposed that this match should be happening a couple years ago in AAA, but because Kenny Omega's injuries, it was impossible. But I think we're super happy to have this match happening next July 15 in Tijuana, in the second part of Triple Mania, and I think it's a perfect timing for everybody. You know, Vikingo right now, it's a much more mature wrestler. He's an uprising talent, and to have this second match in his life with Kenny Omega will be something that we are expecting to be something incredible.
Man, it's just huge. Tijuana, obviously, Triple Mania 31, I guess the first part of the leg, or one of the parts of the leg to the Triple Mania on July 15th. But I mean, can't get much bigger right now than Omega and Vikino, who were basically, the quote unquote dream match from AEW that came to fruition.
Yeah, basically, as I told you, I think it's going to be a big night for us. It's going to be on Fight, on pay-per-view. So basically, we're putting all the card together, but I think we're going to have an incredible night with these two guys having one of the best matches.
When you look at Triple Mania, obviously it's one of the biggest, if not your biggest show of the year. Is that just something that you go in and you say, hey, we got to have Vikino, who's our big star, Vikingo. You got to have Kenny Omega. Like, what's the thought process in putting a match like that together and putting Triple Mania together?
Well, basically, what we try to do, at least in the last couple years, is to have different kind of matches. You know, not all the audiences are exactly the same. For example, what does the English audience like is not exactly the same as the Mexican one. So we try to put like a 5-star match, you know, like this one, a Vikingo versus Omega. But we also try to put Mexican Mexican how do you say style of uh, this kind of like crazy madness, you know, like to have like all the different stars and all the different legends and all the different what in AAA do, you know, like a little bit of insane matches.
Oh yes, for sure. Is Vikingo, would you say he's the biggest star AAA has, or Psycho Clown? Like, who would you say is the biggest star in AAA?
It depends for the market. For example, in Mexico, Psycho Clown, it's still the guy who sells the tickets, you know. But in America, I can imagine that right now Hijo del Vikingo, it's the biggest star, and you know, for example, right now that Commander, he just signed his deal with AEW. He's also a star that we're using here in AAA in a regular basis. So it's it's different markets, but at the end of the day, all of them are big stars, and we're really happy to have them in our roster.
Also, you guys have, I'm not sure if I'm going to pronounce it correctly, but Lucha Tillion, the new themed entertainment center inspired by the world of Lucha Libre, basically is a huge shopping mall in Cancun, correct?
Yes, the correct. I'm going to say I'm going to say the name in a correct way. It's Lucha Titlan, basically the official house of Lucha Libre. And yes, it's in the most popular shopping mall in the Cancun area. We opened the venue the last April 1st. It was a grand opening, and it's a totally new concept that we have created in order that for the people who visit Cancun and doesn't know so much about Lucha Libre, they can get involved with the property.
Lucha Titlan. Is that going to be big for the locals, or is that going to be big for people that are kind of, the tourists, if you will, coming in to Cancun?
Well, it was created much more for tourists, but we also welcome the locals, and it's a different concept. I can. Uh, it's much more a theatrical way to see lucha libre, a kind of medieval times. You can have dinner in, but we try to introduce to a different audience what is lucha libre, and we explain from scratch. If you don't know anything about lucha libre, you can enter to the show and you are going to understand which are the good guys, we are the rudos, the heels, and basically we try to give you like a theatrical way the manner that we present lucha libre for foreigners.
That's a really kind of cool idea. Whose idea was this? Like, what was the genesis of it? How did it all kind of come together?
It's super interesting. So okay, when AAA was founded, we always start like a caravan. We were like in touring the whole time, but there was always like a plan to have our own venue. Much more, we were thinking in Mexico City or in a big metropole like Monterrey or Guadalajara. But exactly when the COVID start, there was a few conversations with one of the biggest. How do you say in America? I think they are the REITs, the owners of several shopping malls and different kind of properties of real estate. So this company, they are the owners of several shopping malls all around Mexico, and because COVID, they were like trying to look uh, new properties to enter in the shopping malls in terms of entertainment, and the idea was to have at the beginning just an arena, a regular arena where we can like put shows of AAA in that arena in Cancun. But after several conversations, we realized that we were in Cancun. Just to give you some kind of numbers, there are basically almost 20 million tourists arriving every year. Uh, it's one of the most popular destinations for tourists all around the world, and there's a Cirque du Soleil over there, Hoya, that basically Cirque du Soleil is producing a show. So we start to have these kind of conversations of how we can put a show that could be super popular and could be super engaged to the people who watch the show, and not only with the people who were with the storylines of AAA. So looking a little bit some kind of papers and documentation about Cirque du Soleil and about another shows all around the world, we start to have this idea to put together three different companies, all of them Mexicans, to try to put a new kind of show. The first one was Ventura Entertainment. Ventura Entertainment, basically, they are the owners of different amusement parks in Mexico City, some aquariums. Even they have the franchise of Top Golf for the Mexican market. The second company is Cocolab International. Basically, they are like a multimedia company that they are in charge of create this kind of immersive experience. They were uh, they were the ones that created the Frida Kahlo exhibition. They were also involved right now in the 100th anniversary of Disney animation. So basically, they are Mexicans, really, really creative guys. And the third one was Lucha Libre AAA, of course. So we have these kind of conversations. We spent almost a year trying to put the whole concept together. After that, we start to raise the capital to make it happen. And after our first conversation in October 2020, no, we were able to open this project in April 1st, 2023. Basically, what we are expecting is 100,000 tourists. It's a venue for 580 people. We are going to have shows almost daily. Even in high season, we're expecting to have 2 shows a day. And you also in the venue, you can find a restaurant where basically you can have this kind of Mexican dinner with tacos and sopes and have like this Mexican gourmet experience with tasting of tequila and mezcal. And we also have like a merchandise store, all these together in this shopping mall.
Wow, that's awesome. It's like basically a destination. If you're really a tourist and you're kind of into Lucha Libre, I mean, that sounds like a great destination spot to hit.
Yeah, it's huge, and also uh, something that is really new and really different to another thing that we have done before is the kind of special effects that you can find also in the venue, pyro, holograms, this kind of the special effects that you don't see in any other wrestling show in the world. So it's trying, I say to everybody, it's like trying to create the Mulan Gush destination in Cancun, and the name right now is Lucha Titlan.
So Lucha Titlan, when do you kind of foresee it being like a really profitable venture? When do you kind of foresee it being that real destination spot?
Well, it should be really quickly. For example, we're expecting to have really solid numbers for summer. So I can tell you, of course, you need to work with the OTAs, with the travel agencies. We're closing like all the agreements and all the deals with them. Everybody, the feedback that we have received about the visitors and also from the travel agencies is that it was a show that it was needed in the destination, because even you have more than 450 attractions just in the area of Cancun, but of those 450, less than 50 of them are in the night, and less than 5 of them are for childs. So this is a family entertainment, no? If you have 2 years, you can be there. If you have 90 years, you can be there. So basically, it's for the whole family.
Are you going to bring like luchadors from the past, present, and maybe even some future stars in for autograph signings and things of that nature?
Well, it has been discussions about it, but let me also tell you that we create like the whole concept, no? New IP, new luchadores. Basically, the story that we are telling in Lucha Titlan is that it was founded by the greatest luchador called El Monarca, no? And El Monarca has 2 childs. He passed away a couple years ago. He has 2 childs. One of them legitimate, the other one from out of his marriage, no? And they are going to have, these 2 brothers are going to have a huge fight that night for the championship and the ownership of the arena in Lucha Titlan. So basically, it's a new concept. It's new luchadores. It's a new IP, no? And at least in this first stage, we are not thinking in mix the universe of the AAA luchadores with the universe of Lucha Titlan.
So as far as AAA is concerned with Billy Corgan and the NWA, you guys recently were a part of the World as a Vampire tour down there. What do you think about your participation with that tour?
I think it was great. It was on March. We started to have conversations with Billy Corgan and his team almost in August last year, and it was the first show that happened in the festival, and with the whole concept was in Mexico City. Was fantastic. It was a good chemistry. Everybody, Billy, ourselves, we were super happy with it. and I think it was a good experiment. Let's see what happened. At least for the next step, we're having discussions of how we can give follow up to this. I know that Billy has been in Australia having some kind of also matches over there with NWA and a local promotion, but I think that it could be possibilities to expand this maybe to America or maybe to other territories with the AAA brand.
So definitely, we haven't seen the end of Billy Corgan, NWA, and AAA working together.
No, of course not. We are super happy. We're working really well together, and as a company, we try to have like open breaches with all the other companies.
So as far as Triple Mania, I know obviously the Kenny Omega Vikino match is leg 2 of Triple Mania 31, which will be in July. The first part
Mhm.
of Triple Mania was the first leg was in April 16th, so it was a few weeks ago. But what about the
Mhm.
third leg of Triple Mania for Mexico City in August? Do you have some big plans for that? Is that something that you're already looking towards?
Well, basically, you know that here in Mexico, the these kind of matches, mask versus hair or mask versus mask, are super important for our audience. So we have in Tijuana, we have a match where Rush and LA Park are going to be a tag team, and they are going to be against Psycho Clown and Sam Adonis, who are the other tag team. And basically, the the loser bracket, no, it's going to be in Mexico City having this kind of match, mass versus hair. It could be Sam Adonis versus Psycho Clown, or it could be LA Park versus Rush. So that's another kind of thing that we are going to have over there. We want to see what happened with the Omega versus Kenny versus Hijo del Vikingo to know what we can do with the Mega Championship for Mexico City. We also having discussions with a couple of big major stars, uh, American, both of them, no, to know if they can be also part of our third leg of Triple Mania in Mexico City. And we are also, you know, that we were trying to work with influencers, so we also are having a couple of discussions with big influencers and uh, major stars here in Mexico.
Very cool. You guys got a lot of stuff going on. Is the mask versus hair match, is that the biggest match you could have in Mexico? Is that like the kind of the end all be all, the blow off of all matches?
100%. That's the kind of match that everybody is waiting on, and yes, it's much bigger, much bigger than a championship match.
Why is that though? Just because the mask means so much more to the culture and to the character and really to the fans than mostly anything else.
I can imagine, and there's no like a real reason of why, but imagine that you have a character and you have been hidden your identity for the last 20 years, no? So
Hmm.
so to have the opportunity to that the people knows who is behind the mask, I think that gives like certain like some kind of uh, how do you say, like excitement to the whole match. And the reason of the hair, it's, well, in my opinion, it's not the same value. You know, it's like you are losing like your whole identity against your hair, but it has been a little bit like that for the last 50 years. So the market has been super used to it's super engaged, and in our numbers, when you present a match like that, tickets, box office, pay-per-views, everything goes up.
When you look at just where AAA is at right now, it just seems like a lot of great legends are still doing it. Like Negro Costas is now part of the team. Psychosis is there. Nicho, Millionaire, basically he's there. Vampiro is still around. Obviously, Konnan is booking things. But then you mix in Vikingo and Commander, and Roosh is kind of back, and then Sam Adonis, Psycho Clown. Is this kind of, do you think, your strongest roster that you've had in quite some time for AAA?
Well, yes, totally. In terms of quality, of veterans, of big names that we have in the company, I think we are in a really good moment. Uh, but all the times are a little bit challenging, you know. For example, in 2014, when we were starting Lucha Underground, we were having at the same time Místico, Rey Mysterio, Alberto El Patron, Phoenix, Pentagon Junior, Daga. So there has been a lot of stage in the company where we are super loaded with the roster that we have, but we haven't been so good in all the different stages to manage as many talent as we can have in the company. I think that something that is really different right now is that basically with the creation of AEW and with Tony Khan coming to the market and giving these kind of opportunities to have like double agreements, between a Mexican company, a Japanese company, a US company, he's open a little bit the market, no, in terms that we can use talent in both ways. So the Mexican talent can also be super happy with the kind of agreements in terms of economical that they can have being signed by two major companies, one in Mexico and the other one in the US. So if you tell me the reason, it's we are really open. We like to work with a lot of companies. I was having dinner last week with the people from Impact. We are having these really good conversations with the people from AEW. We also working with NWA. So basically, if you open the breaches and you can, if you can support the wrestlers to be in several promotions at the same time, I think it's a way to have all the talent happy, and it's what is happening right now in AAA.
And even if you look at it, Konnan just was doing Rey Mysterio's Hall of Fame speech, about a month ago for WrestleMania. So, and obviously Dragon Lee had a nice little open door to NXT. So it does seem like, even WWE is not like far beyond reach. You guys can work with anybody.
Yeah, well, in terms of exchange of talent, I think WWE is not open to that. They are going to sign the talent and they are going to use any people that they sign in an exclusive way. I don't see WWE lending anyone from their roster to a third company, or at least in the short term. But as you said, all the other companies are putting his eyes in Mexican talent, and that's really good for everybody because the Mexican talent is improving a lot. There are so much talent right now in the market, As you said, Hijo del Vikingo, Commander, but we also have Aramis, Baby Extreme, people that they are in his late, in his 20s or in 18, 90 years old, and they are being super spectacular. So I think the next 5 years are going to be super important for in terms of talent for the Mexican market.
Lavie, I know you wanted to touch on some AEW stuff for sure.
Yes, thank you, John. So that leads in really well for the first couple of questions. So, Dorian, I'm sure you've been very busy administering AAA, so I don't know if you came across this debate on Twitter or heard about it, but right before Vikingo's debut on AEW, there was sort of a going back and forth debate. Should he just appear cold and then blow everyone out of the water when they meet him, or should there be like a series of vignettes and highlights building up to his debut? Obviously, it was a smashing success, but what would you have done, and what did you think about the debut on AEW a little bit ago?
Well, the market is changing really fast, and what is really important is that the fans are not to be. You cannot have everybody happy, Someone are going to complain because nobody knows him. Another one is going to complain because he is not so talented as they think he could be. So at the end of the day, the important thing is a result. And as you said, it was smashing. So I don't care how he was presented. At the end of the day, the result was really, really positive for everybody.
For sure. So, I think with COVID and travel, certainly that, limited things for a number of years, but it appears that, the relationship with AEW is the best that it's ever been. Would you define it as such as well?
Well, it has been as any kind of relationship with good moments and bad moments, and as everybody knows, in December when Dragon Lee was presented in WWE and all that stuff, there was a kind of AEW was not so comfortable, and even Konnan has been talking how was the conversation with Tony Khan about it. But right now, I think we have solved all the issues. We are super respectful, so we understand really well how was the position of AEW with all these things happening in the Mexican market and with the Mexican talent. But for us, they are our partners. We are going to protect their interest. We are super happy working with them. I think they are giving a great window to the roster, to the Mexican roster, as Rush and Commander, Hijo del Vikingo. So I think yes, we are right now. We are in a really good moment and momentum with AEW.
So as you were talking about with John a moment ago, that it's really great for the talent because not only do they have be able to work with AAA as a home promotion, go to AEW through AEW, or potentially just being connected to New Japan and travel to Japan. But is there like a tipping point where AAA's talent is traveling so much that it might affect the home promotion? When we look back on WCW in the 90s, so many talents came from Mexico that it might have been challenging to sort of restock and rebuild from there. So is there a point where you might say, okay, it's great that you're traveling X percentage of the time, but we need you here for this percentage?
I understand really well your question, and I think at this moment in AAA, we have been in different stages. For example, as you said, when we were working with WCW, when we were working with Lucha Underground, right now that we're working with different promotions, there are so many Mexican talent right now, and some of them fit really well to the American market. Another one doesn't fit so well in the American market, but feels super well in Mexico. An example could be, for example, Pagano. No, Pagano in Mexico, he can have matches every single day. The audience and the crowd loves him. Maybe his style is not what the American audience is looking for, or at least the kind of indie audience, but we have Mr. Iguana, we have the Clowns, we have so much talent that we can have we can give to the talent this opportunity to be traveling. For example, I was talking with Vikingo that it was his birthday last week, and he was in Australia, and after that he was in America, and after that he was traveling to Mexico to a show. So I think I'm not concerned about having the talent traveling traveling so much, because first of all, we have a lot of talent here in Mexico that we can use to have our house shows and our TV shows. And the second one is because there's a new generation of young talent that is also growing up so fast in our roster that at least for the moment, I think we are in a good stage. And also, for example, we just sent 20 talents to Lucha Titlan. So we are trying to develop talent really fast.
So in terms of talent flowing the other way, perhaps a talent coming from the US or Europe or something like that. So Sam Adonis had recently shared that working with AAA, he's under a right of first refusal. So he whenever you need him for bookings, that's where he'll be. And then I think secondly, he's with MLW. Is that how it might work with some of the premier US talent, that they're not necessarily under exclusive contracts, but a first right of first refusal?
Yeah, exactly. Well, the first thing that we need in order to have the talent happy with us is that basically that the financials make sense for everybody, no? And we are Mexican promotion. We live under another currency, no? Peso is not the same as dollar. Economicals in Mexico and in the United States are totally different. So we need to give to the American talent this kind of non-exclusivity that they can create his own number also in America, you know? For example, right now we have Sam Adonis. We're also right now in our roster working a lot with Gringo Loco, with Jack Carwill, sometimes with Willie Mack, and other times with people from AEW. So in terms to this be a profitable business for everybody, we have non-exclusives with American talent, but as you said, with the first option. So that's the way that it's working right now for us, and we feel that everybody feels comfortable with that.
So in the US right now, and this has been going on through different cycles for a number of years, there's different streaming services. Certainly FITE has, outside of Peacock or WWE and so on, FITE has really established themselves as sort of the premier streaming service, as you know, and I know that AAA works with them and Pro Wrestling TV. But when I think about it, in terms of the potential chess pieces and the potential deals that you already have in place, there's very few promotions where somebody can work with like a AAA and really like establish themselves as a tentpole. We've seen even Premier Streaming. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Freddie Prinze Jr., but he just got involved in this new startup as well. So you'd imagine things are going on there. So has there been like additional conversations with streaming partners, both startups and existing ones, or in terms of the US market, are you set with FITE and Pro Wrestling TV?
Well, there's a lot of points in that conversation, because at the end of the day, it could be a transactional BOB, no, as FITE, no, FITE being, in my opinion, the most important and the most relevant. The numbers that we have done with FITE are really impressive, no, are really impressive, at least in a standpoint of view from Mexico. And we are super happy working with them. But as you know, also in terms to have the most important thing for us is to have more eyeballs, no, and it's not easy. It's not an easy challenge that we have in America. We were having discussions for almost a year and a half with the people from Univision. At the end, we weren't in a position to close a deal with them. So right now we're looking for new opportunities. We're having conversations with a couple of OTTs, no, in the US. We're also having conversations about. It's a little bit the dilemma of the chicken and the egg. What is going first? To create more eyeballs via digital, no, in order to close a better deal with a regular network, no. So we are in that dilemma. We are having conversations to create something like a docu-series or something like that can give much more engage to the American audience. We are also having conversation with a couple of OTTs looking to put our content in the US. We're also having conversations about fast channel, no, to be in America. So in terms of options, there's a lot of things that you can do, or even just to create a fan base, giving your product for free in platforms as Twitch or YouTube, no. So I think we're going to take a decision in the second semester of this year. At least the beginning of the year, we have been really busy with the Mexican market and with the launch of this new venture as Luchatitlan, that if everything goes well, we are going to try to scale up and to create a second and a third venue really quickly. So there's a lot of things happening here in Mexico. We need to focus also really well in the American market, no? But I think that is going to happen until 2024.
So one of the things that I caught last year that I watched a special or two was on domestic US TV, were a number of specials on Estrella TV. Is there discussion of having additional specials, or that has ended for the time being?
Well, we're having also discussions with Estrella. With Estrella, it's just in an the standalone, no, of Triple Manias, no, nothing more than that. Even I can tell you, 2023 has been a really challenging year in terms of content, no. Everybody's like cutting expenses, no, in the content area, no. So but the sports at the same time is giving a much more value to the TV rights. So we are in that stage that we are not so big uh, to have a multi-million-dollar deal, no, and we are not so small to be so desperate to close a deal of 100 of pennies, no. So we are going to take the best option for the company, and we hope to have something for real at least in the second semester or next year.
So one of the relationships that everyone has been watching carefully is, of course, the relationship with Disney and the Marvel brand. I don't believe it has yet migrated to the U.S., and it might not be planned for that. But the special, and apologies for the pronunciation, El Origen de la Mascara was released, I believe, in a number of markets. How are things going with Marvel and Disney?
We're super happy to be working with them. I think we feel super proud of having this kind of collaboration with them, and the product was created for Latin America. I don't know, and it's a Disney decision if it's going to be launched in America sometime. No, I don't know about it. We are working right now in a project to, that I don't know if you know, but the last year we were working with different malls, all around Mexico, to present the product of Lucha Libre to a different audience. So the idea right now is that this product, no, the Marvel Lucha Libre edition, to start to touring in Mexico for the second semester, no, with the Marvel characters in the different malls in Mexico.
Just out of my curiosity, as I discovered the show with my kids on Disney Plus, Ultraviolet and Black Scorpion, which I believe lasted just one season. Was there involvement of AAA in that? And as you were working with Disney and they weren't sure how long that show would last, was there talk about like co-promotion of that and maybe the special that you had taped?
No. The reality is that Disney is so big that they have different divisions. That division is the one in the US, and if I'm not wrong, the first character that was involved in that TV show was Blue Demon, and even the name when it was announced was Blue Demon and Ultraviolet, something like that. No, I don't know the real reasons of why they are not using the Blue Demon IP anymore. But no, we were not in conversations or engaged in any level with that property.
Thank you. So in terms of thinking about live shows in the US, it's been really interesting to watch the different approaches. Of course, most recently or most spotlighted had been the show in Arizona recently. In the past, you had participated in WrestleCon, but not this year. So I think there's a variety of different audiences, as you know, and have talked about just a little while ago, in terms of maybe there's a hardcore audience that's waiting to see AAA, like at the theater at Madison Square Garden, where they'll sell out because they've been anticipating that. Then there's audiences that go to WrestleMania. Then there's maybe more of a mainstream audience that you're looking to draw in Arizona. Do you think that the approach can incorporate a number of these things, and it's like strategic when and where and how in the US?
Well, US has been how do you say, a difficult market for AAA. There's a lot of potential over there, but we haven't been really good knowing how to take that potential of the brand in terms of live touring. We produced a show in December in Phoenix. In terms of attendance, in terms of the quality of the show was really, really good. Everybody was happy. but in terms of economicals, wasn't as expected for us. So basically, what we are looking for, and that's the kind of conversation that we're having right now. Uh, we need a partner, and we need a partner in America who knows how to run live events for the Mexican market. No, so there are not so many companies that do this in America. There are just a couple of them that are super successful. So we are having conversation with them to know if there's a possibility to run some kind of beta shows in certain markets to know the potential about it. It's also again the chicken and the egg dilemma. What it goes first, a TV show, to get a network that can give eyeballs to the property, no, or to launch our live event and a touring of 10 or I don't know how many cities. So we are working on that. We are working on that. It's always in our radar, but we have been there. It hasn't been as successful as we would, but we will try. We will be how do you say, trying and trying until we have success over there.
So just to clear up some probably rumors is too strong a word, but discussion for a while that it seemed like very quickly Conrad Thompson was talking about AAA, and it seemed to come out of nowhere. And then there was talk that on WrestleMania weekend he was going to help promote a show in California that was several thousand seats. Were there discussions with Conrad about becoming like a U.S. promoter?
Yes, for sure. It was when we create this event with and I was there the last match of Ric Flair, and with the response that the Mexican talent has over there, Phoenix, Bandido, Taurus, everybody was super happy and was super excited and super pop up about the opportunity that we could have in the American market. And the idea was to start in WrestleMania weekend. The problem wasn't Conrad, was us, because we were so full with the different projects. No, we opened the venue of Cancun the same weekend that WrestleMania weekend was. So after the numbers weren't as happy for us in Phoenix, we decided to stop and to focus again in what is. Imagine 2022 was the beginning after pandemic, no? So 2023 for us should be really good in the numbers and in the profitability of the whole company. So we are refocusing our the strategy and the core of the company to be super profitable again as we were before pandemic. And the US wasn't wasn't good for us in terms of economicals at the end of the year. So we were taking a reshape and a refocusing of the whole company, and we are right now just really, how do you say? I don't want to say focus so many times, but it's like, yes, we are like taking our position again, and and that's the reason of why we didn't do that show, because even last year we were traveling a lot and we were having discussions with the promoters from Pico Rivera. We were having also discussions with it's not the Home Depot anymore, I think it's the Health Dignity Center, no, and yes, we was trying to put a show over there. What else? Even having discussions with the people from Impact, with Conrad, what we can do. We were trying to put a match between Hijo del Vikingo versus Will Ospreay. That we were trying to put together, no? But how do you say? It was impossible, and we will try to do it in another stage, no?
So I've been thinking about it, probably even more than I should. Sort of like Lucha Libre in America, and what you described in terms of what you're doing in Cancun in terms of a stationary show has been often
Mm-hmm.
what I've imagined potentially viable in the U.S. in terms of like you mentioned, Cirque du Soleil experience where it could be lucha stars that are already known or sort of created with a story that threads through it where somebody could come as a family and really come and experience this high level tour that comes to your town twice a year, sort of like Disney on Ice type of experience, working with like a Feld Entertainment that runs Ringling Brothers,
Yeah.
or something like that. Have promoters ever reached out in that regard?
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we're going to try with Lucha Titlan. It's okay. There are like many ideas that come to my mind really quickly. The first one is, for example, when you go to Lucha Baboom, no, Lucha Baboom is a fantastic way to present the Lucha Libre to the American audience. No, in my opinion, they have barriers. No, they are a burlesque show. No, they are just for adults. No. The people who get much more engaged with the lucha matches are the childs, no. So you need to do a family-oriented show, no. But Lucha Baboom has created something totally new, and successful, and has been in the market for I don't know how many years, but for a lot, and has been running for several years, three or four shows in a year. It's a great concept. So what we're going, I don't know if I need to say that, but we are going to try to scale up really, really fast in Mexico, no? For example, we are thinking Cozumel, no? Cozumel is the island here in Mexico that receive more cruises, no? I think they are going to receive over 1,000 cruises this year, and more or less about 3 million people, no? Just in the island. So we are going to try to put a second venue over there. We're also going to try to put another one in Cabo. But what happened if the next one we try to open it in Phoenix or maybe in Chicago, no? To try to taste the market and to know if we can have like a kind of medieval times, medieval times concept. We have been in discussion with the people from Feld when we were talking about Marvel Lucha Libre Edition, but we need to scale up much more the audience and the kind of show that we need to present in order to have a big business. So yeah, you are totally correct. Also in that manner, Lavie, I think we are separating a lot from the WWE concept, and it's a concept that is going to be complicated for WWE to try to take over in order that they don't have the legacy or the roots, no, about the Mexican Lucha Libre. So for myself, Lucha Titlan, it's a new blue ocean. It's like having the Ringling Brothers and the Cirque du Soleil at the same time, no? We are trying to create our own Cirque du Soleil, and we are trying to expand that vertical of the business in a really fast way.
No, thank you. And this has been so insightful in terms of AAA's growth in business. So in terms of my question, before I turn it over to John, one of the things, of course, as I'm sure you're observing as an expert and executive in the business too, is sort of New Japan's efforts in the US over a number of years. And I would say over the last 6 months, they've sort of reframed their live event experience rather than some big shows, some small shows, somewhere it gets confusing, where they said, basically, we're going to do X number of shows a year. And first it will be on pay-per-view, then it'll be on FITE, then it'll be on, Access TV and so on. So sort of like trimming it down, because previously, they might have some shows that did 2,700, but then there'd be a show in Florida that did 600, and people weren't sure who was going to be where. And I think they have, an opportunity, of course, with Mercedes Monet, who I wouldn't be, surprised, of course, if you have your eye on in terms of potential talent, if that were viable. But in terms of like thinking about it like a business case study, being an expert in the industry, what do you make of New Japan's efforts in the U.S. over the last few years?
What a good question. I went to Coachella like a couple of weeks ago, and I was super surprised that the first night the headliner was a Mexican, well, not a Spanish guy, no, Bad Bunny, no, with a regional Mexican band music, and the second night was a Korean band, no, a girl Korean band. I understand what New Japan is trying to do, but the problem that we have is that at the end, even them, no, us for the Mexican market, and then for the hardcore wrestling audience. It's a niche product, and it's going to be a niche product. It's for me the product that New Japan presents. It's going to be super difficult to be mainstream, no, and more. I don't know. Do you have the numbers? Do you know how big is the Japanese community in the US?
I don't.
I can imagine that maybe 1 million people from Japan living. I don't know. It's not the Koreans. It's not the Chinese community. No, and I think in terms of engagement, no, it's going to be complicated for them. But I don't know the financials. No, I don't know the business plan. So it's just an intuition that I have. I think it's going to be difficult to be profitable in American business. No? It's going to be difficult to get engagement. No, of course, being part of this kind of events as Forbidden Door, where AW has a much more big audience, I think it's the best manner for New Japan to be in the loop, But in the other hand, what could happen if Tony Khan bought New Japan? No, that could be also a good opportunity of how to expand the AEW business to Japan and to have the takeover and a little bit of control of that side of the world. I don't know. It's interesting, I think Tony Khan has a really good vision about it. He knows why and how he's doing the business. And for me, the New Japan in the US, it's a little bit. It's similar as when we tried to launch Lucha Underground. We were having a great product, we were having super good matches, but the eyeballs weren't so big, so it was impossible to make the company big. And it's not a matter of quality; it's a matter of engagement.
You have a great point in terms of like Tony Khan basically becoming like sort of like the representative potentially for New Japan in the US or North America. I had often thought about it when Mark Cuban was very involved with Access TV in New Japan, and he'd go to the shows, that sort of like maybe he would have that role. We've seen with Impact, I guess I have one more question. We've seen with Impact Wrestling that they've made a lot of big executive hires, and they've talked about looking at sort of like potential acquisitions in wrestling, and John and I talk about every week what could they buy. They have a company, so I guess it speaks to a broader question. Like, Dorian, are you open for business in terms of meaning that if somebody were to make an offer for AAA outright, is that something you would discuss, or rights in terms of a certain region, or because of the family legacy that's off the table, it's more about doing deals and growing the business?
I think we will be always open to discussions, Always. It's not a matter if we're a family business or not. This is a business, no? And I think that's an important thing, no? And I know that the Impact has been in a lot of conversations. As you can imagine, we are really prominent in the Mexican market. Our numbers and our financials in Latin America and much more in Mexico are super strong. We have just invested a lot of amount of money making this new vertical in the business. But as you also said, we think that the next step for AAA to grow up in terms of valuation, to grow up in terms of financials, basically it's how we can take over the American market, at least the Mexican market in the US. It's a difficult process. We have been trying for so long, and we're open. If it's an investment, if it's a partnership, if it's a joint venture, if a carve out of rights like we made with Lucha Underground, no? It's interesting, all the possibilities. Well, when everybody was saying that WWE, the rumor, no, when everybody was trying to know who was going to be the buyer of WWE, I think everybody was surprised that it was a merger, no? So it's really interesting how the business is working right now.
No, thank you, John.
So with Vikingo just going back to him for a second and how great he was received here. If you look at the ratings too, that kind of negative stuff that was going online to think, oh, they shouldn't have said it's a dream match. And then when people watched it, it did turn out to be a dream match because it really was a dream match. It actually enhanced the ratings for that week for, when you go into the last quarter hour, that almost never happens with AEW, always goes down. So Vikingo helped, Kenny Omega helped. That kind of leads into a rematch for Triple Mania. But is he, and it's great, maybe crazy to say, or maybe not, but is he the Rey Mysterio of today as far as AAA is concerned? Would you consider him the Rey Mysterio?
I don't know if you can say that Messi is the new Maradona. No, it's always complicated to set how big is a new talent going to be. No, that basically he's an outlier. He's an outlier. That's for sure. I don't know if he's going to be the new Rey Mysterio, if he's going to be bigger than Rey Mysterio. I don't know yet, but he's an outlier. No, Commander is another outlier, and it's amazing how young both of them are, and they are just starting to have a career in the US. So let's see what happens with both of them. Also, you have Dragon Lee really close to having his debut in NXT, but I think he's also a great talent that could be one of the main Mexican talent that could arrive to America. So let's see. Let's see the response to that answer in the next 5 years.
Just throwing this out there. Shinsuke Nakamura, when he was in WWE a few months ago, he did wrestle a match for Pro Wrestling Noah. So just throwing it out there. So maybe Rey Mysterio can be talked into it, or maybe WWE or somebody can be talked into it. I know that was a great move of retirement. It's a different situation, but hey, you never know. They would never have done that years ago. So maybe they're kind of more open to letting guys wrestle in different promotions. You never know, right?
I think you never know. And also it depends who is the booker, no? And who is in charge of creative and how open they are in terms of this kind of forbidden doors, no? I don't know who is in control of creative, no? The book said that Triple H, no? But it depends about many situations. And I think that right now with the merger, they are so busy, no? Trying to close this deal, and I think they are going to at least for the next 6 months, they are going to be so busy in how to consolidate, no, both companies in just one entity, that it's going to be difficult to see that kind of movements, at least in the short term. More, you are going to see much more between UFC and WWE, of course, no? That what WWE is going to lend his talent to another company in a worldwide basis.
Very true. So for AAA, tell us, about what's coming up next and where everybody can see and find AAA.
Well, basically, we are going to have our next Triple Mania in July 15. After that, we go straight to another major show, Verano de Escándalo, that is going to happen in Aguascalientes 1 week just after Triple Mania in Tijuana. And in August 12th, we're going to have Triple Mania 31st in Mexico City. So basically, 3 big shows in less than 1 month. Or our focus are over there in creative. We are having you can see AAA in the United States in YouTube. Basically, we upload all our shows over there. You can see Triple Mania on FITE, no? And what else? And as I told you guys, basically, we also opened this new venue in Cancun. So anytime that anyone, you guys, your audience, can go to Cancun to see this new show, and they can give us your feedback, that would be great also for us.
And of course, FITE. Always check out AAA on FITE and Triple Mania coming up on FITE. But Dorian, thank you so much for all the time. Really appreciate it.
No, thank you so much, guys. I'm sorry again, because sometimes I'm that kind of guy that my brain thinks in Spanish, and I try to translate to English. So I'm not so fluently, no. But I hope that I was clear with all the
Very
questions
clear.
and all the doubts.
Yep. Perfect. Yes.
Everything
Perfect.
is
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dorian. Appreciate all the time.
Thank you, guys.
Have a great night.
Bye-bye.
All right, Lavie, let's hit the plugs. You can follow us follow me, on Twitter and Instagram at Two Man Power Trip. Check out the website, tmptempire.com. Lavie, what do you got?
Yeah, follow me on Twitter at LavieMarg, LavieMarg. Check out my long form articles on LionCubJobSearch.com and check out our LinkedIn group, which has executives from all over the wrestling world, even though we're a brand new a group, the business of the business, pro wrestling industry.
Nice. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. See you right back here next week for a little business of the business. We'll see you next week, folks.